And we are live. Hello, hello, everyone. Welcome. It's here in Prescott Valley. I'm loving it. I got the front door open. We've been having thunder and rain, and it's just I love it that I can have the door open. So it's kind of a fun little bit. So if you hear noise in the background, that's probably what it is. So, and I have with me one of my favorite people in the whole world, Samantha Schmuck. And I first became acquainted with Samantha, and I don't even think I ever told her this story, but I first became aware of who she was through my coaching through HCI because she was part of I think it was the life coach
hmm
um, part of the training, and she would do some of the trainings and the intros and that, and she just has such a warmness about her, and I was just instantly drawn to her. So then later on, when I got to know her more through a coach I was working with, they were both kind of working together, and I had the opportunity to work with you, Samantha. And it's just been, I've never looked back, and I've loved every single minute of it. So I am going to have her tell you more about who she is and what she does, because she can do actually much better than I can. But before we get into that, if you're with us live, please say hello. We are live using StreamYard. So in order for us to see who you are that's making comments, you need to give StreamYard permission. And in the description, there should be a link for you to be able to, and you only have to do it one time, and you never have to do it again. Because then next time you're live with us, it would automatically show your name. So if you would do that, that would be awesome. And some of you have seen and are aware, like to have guests come into the group because I believe that it's important that you get a wide variety of exposures, because not everybody's necessarily going to resonate with me and my approach, but you might resonate with one of the guests that I bring in. And so, but they all are, our common theme is on confidence. So Samantha, I have been working with her through her program, VIBE, and I'm going to let her tell you a little bit more about VIBE. But I just thought I've enjoyed it so much, and I just thought it would be a great opportunity for all of you to hear about it as well. Movement, VIBE is about moving your body in a multitude of ways, and it's important. And she's going to share with us what she does, and she's going to also talk a little bit about how that helps with our confidence. So, Samantha, thank you for joining me
oh,
today. I just love you, and I'm so happy that you're here. So
oh.
tell everybody, I know, but I want you to share with everybody a little bit about who you are and what you do, and let's have some fun.
Let's have some fun. Oh my gosh. Sandy knows I usually don't wear mascara when I teach Vibe because once everyone starts sharing, I get like all the waterworks in my eyes. And I just so appreciate that warm introduction, Sandy. I have loved every second of our time together and getting to know you. You definitely have such a warm and sparkly soul, and it's such an honor to get to spend time with you, work with you, collaborate with you, and be here in your community today. And I would definitely say that if you are here in this community, you vibe with Sandy. And so that is why you're here, because you do vibe with her. But hopefully, the guests that she brings in can just sprinkle in a little extra of that magic and just open you up to some new perspectives. So, as she said, my name's Samantha. I'm a holistic life coach and embodiment coach, and I do that through Vibe, which is a movement technique. And I really got here through my own journey. And that started over 19 years ago with my health journey and losing my health. I was a competitive gymnast and did that for 7 years, training 20 to 25 hours a week. And all of a sudden, one day I started to get joint inflammation. And over a year, it really kind of spread throughout my whole body. And long story short, I had to leave the sport, which felt pretty sudden. And that was my entire identity. So, that, talking about confidence, being a competitive gymnast was truly the one thing that I was most confident in. I was really good at it. I excelled in it. I could move my body in really unique ways. That was always kind of like the party joke with my family of like, look how strong Sam is, look what she can do. And so everything was wrapped up in that identity. And so when that identity got kind of stripped away, and every single morning I woke up and I put my feet on the ground, and I'm 13 years old at this point. So in the midst of puberty and awkwardness and all the things, and I was reminded of, wow, look at what you can no longer do. Look at who you no longer are. Look, you're no longer this perfect gymnast or striving to be this perfect gymnast. But how can you do anything else? You've now spent so many hours and so much time pouring into this one thing. Because when you're a gymnast, you're a gymnast. You are not anything else. And so that was, my everything. And that led to many years of depression, anxiety, self harm, a lot of social anxiety, and just really not knowing if I wanted to stay here because I was told I just had to learn how to live with the pain that the doctors, the top experts that we traveled all around to, they just didn't have a diagnosis, they didn't have answers. And so I was just told to learn how to live with it. And so when I had that knowing come over me that I'm not meant to leave this world, that I'm meant to stay. I don't know how it's going to get better or when, but I was dedicated at that point to seeking for answers and exploring alternative health. And coaching came into my life, and it really helped me shift my mindset because my mindset was just in the gutter. How I saw myself was in the gutter. And it really helped shift things, turn it around to where I could start building up that confidence again. I could start seeing myself with more love, more compassion, and start to allow myself to try new things that were outside my comfort zone, that I wasn't perfect at right away, that I didn't have any confidence to do, but I had to start taking that step. And it's led me to some really cool things, from living in 5 different states after high school, all on my own accord. Um, I got to work for a really cool company creating programs for their students that Sandy was referencing. I created advanced nutrition for or health coaches, and then their life coach program. I spoke on stage in front of over 800 people. Like, these are things that young girl who was going through all of those things never in a million years could have seen herself say yes to, let alone actually do. And have, I was shaken for a lot of those moments, but I was trusting myself. I knew I was capable. And, that certain level of confidence helps you to take the steps when you're wavering a little bit and you're unsure and you're outside of your comfort zone. You don't have the proof, the evidence that it's going to work out. And I've been really grateful to get to share, all that I've learned from health and mindset techniques, stress management techniques, all of the things with my clients the past 8 years.
That's amazing. I've heard some of that story, but not necessarily all of it. So thank you so much for being willing to share that. So given that in your background, if you would share, how did you come up with VIBE?
Yes, it was definitely the thing that really pulled me out of spiraling downward, because so VIBE was created when I was about 19, 20 years old, was when the seeds for it were planted, and it continued to bloom and bloom into what it is today. But I went on this retreat, and one of the closing exercises, I really realized how disconnected I was from my emotions, how numb I had become. I really completely turned off my emotions in order to survive those suicidal ideations and to not be so deep in the depression. But that also meant I really couldn't feel joy and happiness and love and like all those beautiful things on that side of the spectrum. Couldn't feel the really heavy stuff, but I couldn't feel the great stuff either. And I was just kind of living in this numb, neutral lane. And when I had that awareness come over me, I was like, whoa, if you're choosing to stay here, you can't keep living from this place. You have to learn how to tap back into these emotions really authentically. And movement really was always my way that I knew how to express myself. Gymnastics is a very stoic sport, emotionally speaking, and my family was very stoic. We didn't talk about emotions. You really knew the energy in the house just based on how heavy footsteps were, how hard doors and cupboards closed, but emotions weren't talked about. It was really seen as weak. And so I had a lot of that kind of from the two biggest sources in my life. And so then, I didn't learn how to feel. I stuffed things down for all of those years and really tried to keep it behind closed doors. And then it was all of that paired with that awareness of how disconnected I was from my emotions, where I was like, I got to learn a new way. And so that's where movement kind of became my conduit, where it was like, how can I move in a really gentle, low impact way? Because I was still heavily inflamed at that age. So I was like, I need to express through movement again. But like, how do I really tap into the emotion? And that's where music really came into play. Music was a huge thing that helped me get through all of those years and just feel in the field in some of those really emo songs throughout my teenage years. And so it was using movement and music to let myself say, for just 3 minutes, can I step into the artist's perspective who wrote this and really feel what they're feeling? And just see, how does my body want to move to that energy? How does it want to express it? And just allowing it to be a really curious container where there was no right or wrong. I just had to breathe, feel, and let my body intuitively move to the music and what emotion I was picking up from the artist. And that's, you know, the pieces that kind of conglomerated to spark the fire that launched Vibe.
I love that. I love that whole perspective with the music. And I think so. I know I relate, and so many people I think do. When you hear, when certain songs come on, I just want to move. Like I can
Yes.
be in a
Yeah.
store, and I love the beat of the music, and I want to dance.
Yes.
But Vibe kind of put a whole new perspective, if you will, on that movement. And so now when that happens, when that song comes on, I'm like, I think of Vibe, and I'm like, okay, and I'm, even if I'm in the car, I might be dancing around, a little bit. So I thank you for sharing that. So how does, and you and I've talked about it a little bit, but how does movement help our confidence? I mean, my group is Mindful Confidence for Women, and so many women struggle with confidence on a variety of levels and for a variety of reasons. But how can movement, help our confidence?
Yeah, no, it's such a great question. And it really can help us in a multitude of ways. When we are more able, we have more trust in how we can move our body, we're going to have more confidence. And when I say that, I'm literally meaning walking up the steps of stairs when we're older, getting off the toilet when we're older. And from somebody who really lost her health and movement at a young age, that has always been my biggest fear slash driver when it comes to movement. I'm not about gains. I'm not about overly stressing the body and pushing too hard, but about finding gentle movement that's going to strengthen us and keep us living with quality well into our years. And so that's one way that movement gives us more confidence, is just trust of like, I can take care of myself. I can be independent because I know how to move this body, this vehicle that I've been gifted. And no matter how many decades I am into my life, like I trust that I'm going to be able to move myself and be independent and feel really good in my body. So I think that's one key area that movement can really help us feel confident in our life. And then there's another key area. I think her name is Amy, and I'm totally blanking on her last name, but she speaks a lot about the science of posture and how when we are more depressed, and I definitely felt this when I was moving through my own, but when we are depressed, our entire body physiology changes. Our shoulders slump forward, our our stomach caves back. We like shrink ourselves and we go inward, and we just kind of move through our day like this, right? Like that, our physical body mirrors our internal world. And so we can kind of shortcut that or help kind of redirect our internal world when we shift the external state of the body. Because if internally we're kind of feeling shy or we're feeling unsure or we're doubting ourselves, like we might have a little bit of that closed off production energy. But then if we're like, whoa, I don't want to be feeling that anymore, but to just go into the brain, you're like, oh, whoa, that's like uncharted territory. I don't know how to redirect my thoughts. I don't know how to do any of these different things. Then start with the body. Be like, okay, you know what? I notice I'm feeling that way. I'm going to shake it out. I'm going to open my chest. I'm going to roll my shoulders down and back. I'm going to lift my chin just a little bit. Not like I'm above you, but just like I am confident here in this moment, and just opening up that body, really feeling yourself feel grounded in your feet, feel yourself sit into your pelvic bowl. And even just like me doing that, like I can just feel such a difference in my body, in my energy, and how I'm feeling and presenting myself. And so that is another cool way that just the way that we're moving tells our internal world, like, oh, wow, in order to move that way, she must be feeling pretty confident. So it's this cool little loop that we can start going on to that is going to help promote shifting the internal view of how we actually see ourselves versus just being like, how can I feel more confident? How can I feel more confident? Like that can be, that can drive us batty. That's for sure. And confidence, what I think is really cool about confidence, because every single person that I've worked with, they're wanting more confidence in one form or another as well. And so if you can't build confidence with an inaction. Just by sitting here, I'm not going to build confidence. I have to go do the thing that I'm wanting to do it, observe how I did it, give myself feedback, and then I can improve the next time. And that next time I'm going in with notes, I'm going to tweak this, I'm going to do this slightly different, and I'm going to build that confidence up a little bit more and a little bit more. So we have to be in action in order to start building this confidence. We can't sit idle and stagnant. Otherwise, we're going to start spiraling downwards.
I love that. And when you were describing that whole thing and the slumping forward and that, it reminds me of, you may have seen that. Of course, it's about giving somebody a pill, but which I don't advocate, um, but the commercial for in their, I think, what's it, Rexulti or something like that, but they walk around and they have the little, face on a stick, and they're,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
for depression. That's what made me think of that for some reason. But I like, exactly. I love the whole being in action, concept. So thank you for sharing that. Well, I know that you are going to share with us an example of vibe, and we're going to do it seated. So for
Yeah.
those of you that are worried, like, I don't know if I can do that, I will tell you what I love about and I've done her immersion twice, and I'll have her talk about it a little bit. I've done the immersion twice, and now I'm in her membership. But when we're having our sessions, I just love that she gives us, that you give us the space to, sometimes, I'm not in the best shape, and so I sit down, and you show us, those different ways that we can do it, seated, or give us, that space. We don't have to be, like, okay, we're doing aerobics, it's not like that at all. So I'm excited for you to share your seated vibe example with everybody. So
Yes.
I'm going to
Oh
turn
my
that
gosh.
over to
Yes.
you.
Yes. And I do have one question for you as well. But I think one thing that you just really stressed that again comes back to that building confidence is, vibe is about intuitive movement. I am not, while there are moments where I'm showing you a movement, we don't stay like, you have to follow this choreography, like
Right.
Sandy was saying. It's, I'm showing you movements and then you play with them. Or we're just putting on the music and you are fully just going where you want to go. And that can feel really out of your comfort zone at first because it's like, I'm used to being told what to do. She hasn't told me what to do in 30 seconds and I'm kind of losing it. And when you have to learn how to guide yourself, choose what feels best, what feels right for you, your body, where your energy is that day. Again, that's building that confidence because you're learning what is best for me. How can I listen, feel into that, and then take action on it? How can I stop outsourcing my natural intelligence to everybody else who I think is the expert over my life? And how can I learn how to start being the expert on my life? And that's what this really helps you tap into. So, what I'm leading you through tonight is a little bit more guided, but it is going to be more gentle. And then we won't have the music on tonight just because when we do it, um, we put music on during live. Sometimes copyright issues can bump us off, and we don't want that to happen. So, the
Right.
main music that we're going to be listening to tonight is really your breath. And so just start, get in a seat. You can be on a couch, you can be on a chair, wherever you feel most comfy. Make sure your feet are nice and flat. And then we're going to go through a couple points on our head to hold first, just to help calm the nervous system. We always are trying to, first with VIBE, build awareness. Step two is really connecting into our body, connecting to our emotions, connecting to the energy, the vibe of the song. Then step three is really processing, which we do through our breath, through movement. And then step four is really integrating these experiences. By processing them, we get to integrate them and release them. And through doing that, we ultimately expand in our energy, in our mindset, in our physicality, and how we're moving ourselves, and really into that highest version that we know ourselves to be deep down. We know our potential, we know what we're capable of, but sometimes we don't always take action on it. And so we get to just feel that expansion at the end of this practice. So we might not fully get to expansion in our little mini one tonight, but those are the overarching step and method of what we move through in VIBE. So with our feet nice and planted, first I just want you to place your palms flat on your thighs slash right around your knees. Take a nice deep breath in through the nose. Feel it go down the throat into the chest. Breathe out, puff out the belly. And as you exhale, let it just release out through the mouth. Nice and subtle. So you're going to keep that rhythm with your breath. Breathe it in through the nose. And really feel the belly expand and sigh it out. Go ahead and scan through the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. Go nice and slow. Continue that breath, nice and rhythmic. And just get curious and notice, how does my body feel? Where might I be carrying stress or tension? Where am I feeling kind of heavy or restricted in my body? Where is feeling just neutral? Where might I be feeling kind of buzzy energy? And just continue to scan through the body, making your way down nice and slow. And just taking stock on what is. Nice exhales out the mouth. Just take one more round to really get a felt sense of where you currently are and starting to wind down from the day. And the next point I want you to bring your hands to is you're going to take your thumbs to your temples. You're going to take your pointer and middle finger onto the forehead, kind of right above the center of the eye. You're going to press in, pull it up, and then drop the shoulders down. And same thing, take a nice deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. Right now, we're just holding our neurovascular points. These are little like acupressure points that can help release different energy or emotions that our body could be holding for us. So these specific points, our temples can hold anger. Our forehead is that overwhelmed place. So I kind of love just holding both of these together. And that way we can help our body wind down, relax, keep that breath going nice and rhythmic. And that way when we move into more subtle movement, we can really feel and let our body move how it wants to move versus feeling stuck or rigid or kind of locked up from the stress, the tension from the day. Go ahead, shake those hands out. You're going to find the same point but on the back of the head. This is a place that can have panic. So if you're tuning into the news a lot, you might be carrying some panic just because there's big things happening all day, every day. And again, take a deep breath in. Kind of notice if you hold a point and your breath just stops. That is your moment to be like, okay, deep breath. Tune in, honor that the body's holding this for you. Get curious of where or why you might be holding it without judgment, just curiosity. And when you press into each point, you might even notice a little bit of tension. It doesn't mean to lessen how much you're pressing into it, but you don't got to press harder. But just kind of notice, like, oh, yeah, there's some stagnant energy right there if it's real tender. Shake it out. We're going to go over to our cheeks. So kind of like right under, you're going to press in and up. And this is a place where we can hold worry. So again, all of these emotions can swirl one into the next. Just take 2 deep breaths here. Really let that exhale be nice and big. Maybe you want to let the lips flutter as you do it, kind of like a horse. Nice. Shake that one out. And then you're going to find that point on the exact opposite side of your head. So it's about 2 inches up from where your hair meets your neckline. And again, drop the shoulders down. And this is a place where we can hold a lot of fear. It might be fear of how you look, fear of putting yourself forward for that job position that you want, the raise, saying hello to someone new. Like when you're thinking about building confidence, where might you have fear of really stepping into it? And just let yourself gently observe some of those questions while you're holding that point. Shake it out, and then we're going to go to one last point. So imagine your hair is split down the center like mine. You're going to draw back 2 inches right from the forehead hairline and press in. And this is a point that can deal with grief. And grief does not have to mean the loss of a loved one. It can be a missed expectation, something not going how you hoped it would be. It can be the slightest of griefs to the most heaviest and traumatic versions of grief. So sometimes it's easy to be like, well, I haven't experienced it, but wow, this point's tender. What might my body be holding that it associates with grief? Again, come back to that breath, feeling the feet flat on the ground, feeling how your chair supports you beneath your legs and your seat. One last breath, and then shake it out. Kind of shake out the shoulders if you feel any tension building up in there. And then you can kind of widen your feet if they were hip distance apart. So you can kind of widen them out so they're nice and wide for you. And as you inhale, and you can even put your palms flat on your thighs again. And I just want you to slowly but surely kind of make this wave-like motion from side to side. So it kind of starts in your hip and your lateral muscles and your rib cage kind of leads it. And then your shoulder, your neck, your head is kind of last. And again, now tune into the breath. Imagine that you're a wave. Breathe it in and exhale it. Again, see where your body feels kind of rigid and clunky as you're moving through this. And see if you can release some of that tension. Bring a little bit more softness to that place where you're tensed up and holding it rigid. And see, can I just relax and let it flow? You're pulling on different muscles here, from your lateral muscles to kind of deepen your core. And then find yourself back at center. Now, as you inhale, we're going to kind of do a seated cat cow. So as you inhale, your chest is going to go forward, your chin lifts, you're going to arch the back. And then as you exhale, you're going to reach your belly button back to your spine. You're going to hollow the body, kind of make like a C. So as you inhale, you're going to make a U with the body, the upper half. And then as you exhale, you're going to round it into a C. And again, flow with this back and forth at your own pace. You can move it nice and slow to really wind down the day. But tune into each vertebra from the top of your neck down through your shoulders, into your low back, into your sacrum. Really let each little movement be nice and intentional, drawing on all of those areas, those joints in our spine to move versus just being like, whoop, right? Access all the fine intricacy of your body, not just those real broad, big movements. Take one more round here. And then start to create a little circle. So your pelvis is going to kind of create this little circle rhythm on the chair. And then you're going to allow your body. I don't know if anyone here in this group knows about SpongeBob, but do you remember when they like bring it around town? And so you're really using your shoulders, your chest here. Your low back isn't getting as much movement here when we hollow back. But again, just tune into your body of where were you feeling that tension when we first started? Can you breathe into it? Can you allow your body, your muscles to flow through it with ease? And then go ahead and reverse directions. And just allow those big sighs to just release the stress of the day. And release any of the tension that's unwinding in your body. And maybe you want to let your movement be even bigger. So you want to like roll forward, you kind of bend the arms as you hinge forward and then straighten them on the way back. Right? So again, you can start really subtle with your movement, really slight, and then you can build it into really broad movements. Nice. And then go ahead, find your way back to center. Place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly. And just again, scan through from the top of your head down to the tips of your toes. And just notice, like, how does your body feel now, even if it's a really subtle shift from when we first started. So it was a nice short practice. This is kind of like a warm up of what we would do for our VIBE practices. But it's a great way to get us out of our head, to get us into our body and learning how to listen to the signals that the body sends us. Take one more deep breath in. You exhale, really feel your feet ground and feel those shoulders drop and relax. And just thank yourself for taking those couple minutes to tune in, to feel what's present and what your body's holding for you. Great job. How are you feeling,
Thank
Sandy?
you. That felt great. Mine, where I'm carrying, typically, it's always is right in my back, my mid back. And so, and I was feeling it before we started that, and now it's kind of all worked through and stretched out. So
Nice. Yay.
feels
And right, like
good.
really simple movements that we just did. It was a really short practice, but that's where VIBE, I like to say, is a way of living. It's not just movement, because when I'm washing the dishes, I'm practicing the same types of things that I teach in the full movement of like well, where am I right now? Am I actually being present, or am I like scrubbing this dish as I think about this email that came in, you know? And so it allows
That's
us to
so
be
true.
present, to be in the moment, to flow with the water and the things that are happening. Or while I'm out walking the dogs, I can either be in my head and my to-dos and what I should be doing, or I can drop into, how's my body doing right now? Where am I? What's going on? How is this feeling? And just be present for a moment. So it's something that we can do in our 90 minutes, like we do in the VIBE membership, or it can be something that you just impart into your day in little itty bitty ways.
Awesome. Oh, that felt so good. Thank you so much. I hope
You're
everybody,
welcome.
for those that are watching us on replay, let us know, replay and how you felt after you did that along with us, because I
Yeah,
feel better. So,
good.
so where can they find you? Because I know you've got your Facebook group, and
Hmm.
I'll let you talk about that.
Nice.
You're being conscious by your vibe living, and then talk about that and what you do in there, and then share about like how they can vibe with you and where they can find you. What's the best way to
Vibe
reach
with
out to
us
you?
because you're
Vibe with
there.
us. That's right, because I'm there too.
I love it. Yeah, so the Facebook group, the Clean and Conscious Community, is all about learning how to reduce chemical stress in your life from the products that we put in, on, and around our body. Coming from a background where I had so much inflammation and no answers, when I started to learn all of the things, because I thought I was living a pretty healthy lifestyle. I love my fruits and veggies, right? All the things. I exercised a crazy amount, but my health wasn't what I thought it should be. And so learning how these different chemicals aren't regulated by our government, they make it into products on the shelves. We think they're safe for us and our families. And then we realize how much they're impacting us. They're carcinogenic, they're disrupting our hormones. Um, and there's better products that exist and they perform. And so this group is to really help reduce the overwhelm, because when you first start learning these things, it can feel very stressful, very overwhelming. Like you just don't know where to go or what next step to take. So, my goal with this group is to reduce this, to minimize this, because I truly feel it is a community effort to stay in the know on all the many things that are constantly changing in that avenue. So, I love sharing all the swaps that you can make, and we definitely highlight skincare and makeup, because those are two areas. Our skin is our largest organ, and the average woman puts about 150 plus chemicals, unique chemicals, on her body every single day through personal care products. And so, by just swapping those two categories out, you can drastically reduce your body burden. And when our skin shines brighter, because we're not having to detox and release so many things that our body can't naturally detox on its own, we feel more confident there as well. So I love, love, love getting to share something that not only makes you feel confident and great from the outside, but that is helping your internal stress and nervous system just work better as a whole as well.
Awesome. And how can they learn
Bye.
more about vibe?
Yes. So right now we are doing our VIBE membership. We do the immersion that Sandy mentioned. We do that in the fall and the winter. That's an 8-week program where I'm teaching you all of the different aspects of vibe, the different types of visualizations that you can use to really do the deep transformational work. And so we do that on a seasonal basis. We meet weekly, but that's not going to be starting until the fall. So if you're wanting to learn, like, how do you actually create your own vibe self-care practice and have all these different tools that you can pull on no matter where you are, no matter how much energy you have, no matter how much time you have, that is this place to be. But in the meantime, we have our Vibe membership, which meets every other week. And so next week, the 24th, is our next live vibe. It's at 7 p.m. Eastern, and we move for 90 minutes. It's fully in the practice, whereas the immersion, I'm kind of teaching you a lesson. We're journaling, we're reflecting, we're uh, talking and coaching as a group. And then we do a vibe practice at the end to really embody the technique that we learned that day. In the membership, we are fully in the practice. So, right from when we log on, we are starting to dive in, getting into the body, and really giving yourself a nice, juicy space to process, to feel, to move through. and to start to connect to that intuition, build trust, and build confidence with how you want to move in your body and in your life each month. So, very, very excited to welcome you in to our Vibe tribe and vibe with you twice a month.
Awesome. And we will, or I will, put all of those links in the description and or comments once we're done with the live, so that you'll be able to have access. So that if you have questions, you can reach out to myself or to Sam. And I explain a little bit more about the ambassador code for them to use if they decide to join.
Yes. So Sandy is one of our ambassadors because she is been in 2 immersions. She's now in the membership, and so it's a way for me to help them share it with their communities and for them to help me spread the mission of Vibe by gifting you 10% off your first month. And if you were to join the immersion, you'd also get 10% off of that. So that would kind of save you your deposit that you would put down of 111. In the immersion. So whether you want to join us for the membership or the immersion in the fall, this ambassador code from Sandy is going to save you 10%. So you'll definitely want to utilize that code on checkout so that way you can save a little bit because that always feels nice.
Awesome. Awesome. Sam, this has been amazing. Thank you so much. Any final thoughts or comments or something? What's one final thought you want to send everybody off with?
I have one fun question for you, and this has
Okay.
been so fun. I'm so appreciative of you having me in because I think this is one kind of, I don't know, I'm just very curious to learn it because I know what it is for me, but I love hearing it for you. So you had mentioned that like a beat comes on and you just have always naturally loved to like it takes you over, you want to dance to it. But through Vibe, it's shifted how you look at that to it's not just like, oh, I'm not just like casually dancing, like something else is happening for you now. And so I'm curious if you would be open to share like how through going through the immersion and being in the membership, how does listening to music is it different than just like, oh, I'm just like dancing in my room?
um, for me, I think it's because when that happens, I automatically go to thinking about our vibe and our immersion, and so then it becomes more. Um, what I've realized is it's not just the beat. Sometimes like I might listen to chanting or mantras or something like that, which just helps to kind of calm. Sometimes it is moving. I will share that. I mean, I was very self-conscious, and I still am sometimes, but not as much. When I the very first time I think I did a free one with you first,
Hmm.
just to experience it and see what it was about. I can tell everybody that's watching and listening that the first time I watched Sam do it, she did, I think you did a promo thing, and I was like, I want to do that. I've always been drawn to and wanted to dance. And I was just actually talking to somebody earlier today. My husband and I have talked about taking like ballroom dance classes
Yeah.
before. And so that kind of came up again today. So, and I haven't mentioned it to him yet, but I will. But it's just, I think feeling the confidence and being feeling comfortable, just moving, however the music speaks to me. Where I think before it was like dancing and not wanting to look dumb, for
Mm,
lack of a better description, and like what's the latest, and that type of thing. Now it's just kind of like just what feels good, and
mm.
even the little bit that you did today, even though we had no music, we weren't really dancing, but I mean my body just feels so much better. My back doesn't hurt now. So that's what I would say how it's changed, for me.
Oh, that is so epic. Thank you for sharing that. I love that. It's so cool. Oh, I was like, I gotta ask because it's so many people love to dance, right? And so it's like, what's different about Vibe that makes them be like, oh, maybe I'll try that. And I've heard that multiple times from people of like, oh, I dance, but like this, I never thought of it like this. And so that's always just cool getting that feedback. Let's see. I'd say my closing note for today is again, when you tune in and you do that body connection, I think a lot of times when we aren't feeling confidence in ourselves, we're feeling disconnected from ourselves. And so when we allow ourselves to vibe, we are really merging our mind, body, and our soul to really move in unison, where sometimes our mind is leading us in one direction of how we think we should live our life. Our body is talking to us and asking for things, but we're not listening. And then our soul is like, but we have this big mission. What are you listening to right now? And like all three of them are kind of like trying to do this weird, crazy family dynamic. And when we vibe, it allows us to just drop into all three of them at once, like without having to control it or think about it, just let them flow. And they work it out. And different revelations come through, and you just feel so much more inner peace at the end of it. So I think it's really just tuning into, if I'm not feeling that confidence of where I want to in my life, where might I really be disconnected? Is it from my mind? Is it from my body? Is it from my soul? Is it from part of myself 10, 20 years ago that X event happened and I just turned that part of me down, or completely shunned it, or, shut it down? I think that's a great place to start, and just to get really curious, right? Because sometimes the feels can come up and we start to judge our past versions of ourselves, but to always know those past versions of ourselves were doing their best. So, how can we have compassion and love for what they were trying to teach us, trying to protect us from, and to just get us to where we are today, where we now have the insight to see the past differently?
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. Sam, thank you again. I just adore you. And I thank you so much for sharing your gift with all of us, and
Likewise, Sandy.
especially with my group. So I hope you and everybody else has a fabulous rest of your day. And I will talk with you all soon. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, everyone.